want to give a big shout out to all the students who are not performing tonight who made amazing poems. For one reason or another, didn't get to be on stage tonight. Give them a real round of applause. At the end of the day, this is all about making great poems and great work and supporting each other. So, as they say, it's about the poems, it's not about the points. Verselandia is a collaboration between literary arts and the Portland Public High School librarians and teachers across Multnomah County and parent volunteers without whom none of this would be possible. So please give it up for all those amazing teachers and librarians, volunteers. And they had so many helpers themselves. Their names are listed in the program, but behind all those people are even more people. So it's a really amazing group who made sure that we would all be here tonight. It is now my pleasure to introduce Turi Autry. She's an author and performer whose work explores culture and identity. Turi has been a featured performer at colleges and community venues across the country. As a teaching artist, she's provided assemblies, workshops, residencies. In addition, she's teaches college courses, in several disciplines. Her poetry collection, Roots, Reality, and Rhyme, is a poetic journey that bridges the personal and political, the mythic, and the real. She has worked also for literary arts program, Writers in the Schools, for now 14 years. Please give a warm welcome to Turi Autry.
So it would be tacky for Andrew to thank himself. Can we thank Andrew? So I want to just say, you guys made a really fantastic decision on what to do with your evening tonight. So give yourselves a round of applause, because you are glad you're here, trust me. So I have been a judge. The first 3 years of Verselandia, I was a judge. I've also had the privilege of working with librarians in the schools, helping them get slams going before Verselandia even started. So for me, it's really beautiful to be here and be the host. I'm on the verge of leaving Portland in a couple weeks to check out other places in the world. I'll come back and visit. I promise, but I couldn't imagine a better event to participate in before I leave. So I'm just really thankful to Literary Arts for making this happen for the youth throughout the city. So let's give it up for Literary Arts. So make some noise if you've never been to a poetry slam before. So since quite a few of you haven't been to a slam, there's a few things that I should tell you about what a poetry slam is. So if you were to take an open mic of people reading poetry and you were to somehow combine it with competitive Olympic diving, it would look something like that. So what will happen is these amazing, fantastic poets are going to come up to the stage. They are going to leave parts of themselves on the stage through their words, and our judges are going to have the difficult task of assigning that a numeric point value. And then the poets who get the highest scores, the top 10, they will move to the second round. And then you heard all the fabulous prizes that will happen to the top 5. So let me introduce your judges. And I really want you to encourage all of you to clap heartily for them. Extra. Like you just want to see how much noise you can make when you applaud, because trust me, later on, you will not want to applaud them. So let's make sure that we do that now. So our first judge that I would like to introduce you to is Renee Mitchell. Now Renee, yes, applaud for Renee. She is an award-winning journalist, a poet, a playwright, a multimedia artist, teacher, facilitator, and all-around creative revolutionist. Let's give another round of applause for Renee Mitchell. We also have Manuel Mateo, who is a guitarist with eclectic tastes in music, literature, and food. He's a WITS Advisory Council member and a retired high school English teacher for Portland Public Schools. He actually taught both of my children when they were in high school. Give it up for Mr. Mateo. We also have Carla Hobson, who has worked in the social service arena for over 35 years and is currently employed at Self Enhancement Incorporated in Portland, which serves over 7,500 youth and their families. Put your hands together for Carla Hobson and for SEI. We also have Dave Maddox. He is the Chief Marketing Officer at the shoemaker Cole Haan. He travels weekly to New York for work, is the father of 3, once traveled through Africa with U2's Bono. Wow. And conceived of the not-so-popular and now non-existent poetry app, Haiku. Put your hands together for Dave Maddox. And last but not least, we have Diane Ponte, who is a writer and freelance editor. She teaches writing and has been a bond broker and does live storytelling. Put your hands together for Diane Ponte. So I told the judges that sometimes this can be a thankless job. So I promised them that we would give them lots of extra applause now to brace them for what comes later. So let's give another round of applause for all of our judges. There are some other people that are helping make this evening move smoothly. We have a timekeeper. Now, the timekeeper's job is to keep track of if poets go over. In slam, a performing poet has 3 minutes to perform their piece. There is a 10-second grace period. Once they go over that, they start to get point deductions. So poets, please do not go over 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Our timekeeper this evening will be Amy Prosenjak. She uses her financial prowess on a daily basis to run A to Z Wineworks, the largest winery in Oregon. Tonight, we will put her to the test with a stopwatch. Put your hands together for Amy Prosenjak, timekeeper extraordinaire. And there will be a lot of number crunching that will happen tonight. We have 5 judges. What will happen is they'll hold up scores. The top score and the bottom score will get dropped. And we will take the 3 in the middle and add those together. And doing that math, we have a math gal, Mona Schreier from Grant High School, is a math teacher and a lover of literature. Put your hands together for Mona. And because we care about the numbers and getting it right, we also have a math gal assistant. And that is going to be Mary Rodeback. Put your hands together for Mary Rodeback, Grant High School English teacher. Now, in order to get our judges warmed up and ready for this task of assigning numeric value to poetry, we do what is called a sacrificial poet. There will be no blood. There will be no blood. But what will happen is our sacrificial poet will come up. They will say their piece, and then the judges will hold up a score, and that will be their baseline, and how they will then continue to rate and score poets afterwards. So, with no further ado, let's put our hands together for our sacrificial poet, Madison High School's 9th grader, Amulet Reynolds.
Oh, you like boys? I went through a straight phase once. Or, as my dear friend put it, I was struggling with heterosexuality. And gosh, was I struggling. Do you know how low my standards got? I couldn't tell the difference between liking someone and fearing them. Because when the boys in elementary school tugged my hair and called me names, I would get told, "Oh, he just likes you." Because when a boy in 4th grade followed me around, making me paranoid, I was told it was cute, that he had a little crush on me. Because Heteronormativity makes everyone think that any interaction between a girl and a boy is inherently romantic or sexual. And this caused what happened in 7th grade. The older boy who towered over me gave me what I thought were butterflies, but I later learned that was anxiety. And back when I was struggling with heterosexuality, I got called a lesbian a surprising amount, and at the time, I'd hurriedly assure everyone in the vicinity that I was as straight as a ruler, when everyone but me knew I was about as straight as a curly straw. And although I'm not a lesbian, whenever someone assumes I'm straight, I hurry to explain that I am just about as queer as wearing winter clothes on a hot summer day. And although I'm not a lesbian, I call myself gay because my romantic and sexual orientation is so often erased that no one understands what I mean when I say I'm panromantic, asexual, and although I'm not a lesbian, let's face it, girls are really cute. And I hope that someday we can have enough awareness that I don't have to explain that panromantic means I'm romantically attracted to people regardless of gender, and asexual means I don't experience sexual attraction. I hope we can have enough awareness that the other asexual kids don't have to feel broken. And all the non-straight kids don't have to come out because it's not assumed that they're straight. And to all the people struggling with heterosexuality, young or old, here's a tip. If you look at someone of the same gender and say, I'd totally hit that if I were gay, you might be a little gay.
Our sacrificial poet, Amulet Reynolds. And we have a 7.2, a 7.5, a 7.8, a 7.3, and a 7.5 for our sacrificial poet. Put your hands together for Amulet. Our next poet in this first round, put your hands together for Wyatt.
The inhumanity of man against man is beyond belief. That's a quote by a brave soul who not only lived in the Holocaust, but survived it as well. Survived as one of the few who weren't consumed by flames, gases, or their own hunger. One of the few who could live in a tomb of thousands and leave with any form of hope for humanity. Enough hope to not only enough hope to not only leave an impact on his new community, but also his new country. He became a man of Congress, a man of justice, a man who worked to ensure that nobody can just wake up someday and say, this race of people shouldn't exist. I'm sick and tired of having to come to school and hear another story of another young boy barely old enough to understand life, who's on the receiving end of a bullet delivered by a man so traumatized by his experience in school that he felt some kind of closure in slaughtering some man's offspring. It's like a man, okay. It's like a life without tragedy is just as improbable as winning the lottery. $1 million? How about one more life spared from the cold hands of war? How about one less bullet to waste on an argument left unsettled? How about one more night where I don't have to worry about that my father will die at the hands of some jackass that I want too many? I feel like we're forced to think about how short life is because it's expected that we'll meet some kind of terrible fate. All the training society gives us for our future, and what they try to prepare us for the most is that ill-fated last breath. Every time I have to hear about how small and insignificant my life is compared to the vast beauty of the universe. Damn it. It makes my life feel that much more depressing. It makes me see just how short our lives are. It's like reaching 100 is some far-out dream forced back by the barrel of a gun. But the universe continues on for thousands of years, forever expanding, like the imagination of a young child with his red crayon and a wall freshly cleaned that he can make into his own world. The universe doesn't care about the arcane, the insane, and the inhumane taking over the minds of everyone in this world. So why should it give a damn about me? Thank you.
Wyatt, put your hands together for Wyatt. Judges, whenever you're ready, hold up those scores. All right, we have a 6.8, a 7.4, a 7.5, a 7.7, and a 7.2. Put your hands together for the poet, Wyatt. Next up, we have Taya. Put your hands together for Taya.
This is an open letter to every boy I've ever had a crush on. Hi. How you doing? Oh, you know exactly who you are. You've known since that time I lent you a pencil and you smiled the most sincere, dreamy smile and said, thank you. And I may have said it out in awkward, you're welcome, or don't mention it, or if I was feeling especially awkward that day, I may have thrown up an awkward peace sign and said, just try to help a homie out, with a painfully uncomfortable grin on my face. Or maybe it was that time I just happened to find my way into your conversation, and I said just the right thing that just so perfectly suited your sense of humor. It was almost as if I had made it up beforehand. I had. And I laughed, and you laughed, and I smiled and giggled and started to wring my hands together because I was starting to get a little sweaty, and you thought, oh, Lord, this poor child has a crush. To all the boys I've ever had a crush on, I'd first like to say I'm sorry for all the girlish glances, awkward giggles, and totally blatantly obvious passes I made that I probably thought were so damn smooth. Sorry for all the texts I've sent to my friends, screaming, crying, giggling about some dumb thing you did at school that you probably thought nobody noticed. Sorry for the pale, stuttering mess I become around you. It's just that you make my palms kind of sweaty and my stomach kind of queasy, and when I'm around you, I can't really get out an intelligent sentence, and all of a sudden, everything Taylor Swift ever sang makes so much sense, and it feels so right and so wrong. Mostly so wrong. And it makes me wish dating was more like online shopping, because I love online shopping. But mostly I love the part of online shopping where you rate your transaction. So, to all the boys I've ever had a crush on, I'd like you to think about the last time we talked. How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? Were there any problems? Would you date me? Why not? Was it because I played with my hair too much? Because be real, if you had this much hair, you'd play with it too. Was it because I bit my nails or because my outfit was a hot mess? Was my straight out of an episode of Saved by the Bell Kelly Kapowski wannabe look not doing it for you? Because it did it for Mario Lopez. Thank you for your feedback. It will be used to improve future transactions.
Taya. My first poems were love letters that I stuck in desks and lockers. I hope they saved them. They might be worth something now. Judges, whenever you're ready, I'm waiting for your scores. We've got an 8.9, a 7.6, a 9.2, an 8.8, and an 8.9. Put your hands together for Taya. Next up to the mic, put your hands together for Gwen.
I showed him a picture. I see a house, he said. There are some coats on the bench. It looks like a family lives here. It was probably taken a long time ago. He looks at this picture and sees a house. She looks at this picture and sees a house. You look at this picture and see a house. But I look at this picture and I do not see a house. I see the corner of a car that the woman my father had an affair with drove. It's a dark green Subaru, which ironically turned my mother dark green with envy. I hear my sister screaming. She is 12. My stepmom is cutting the mole from the base of her back because she doesn't believe in modern medicine. She will give birth to 2 kids without a single painkiller, and they will both grow up to hate her. I see the Eugene, Oregon mailbox my dad and I painted with rivers and suns and daffodils, but then it rained, and the paint washed away because it wasn't permanent. Nothing was permanent, and it only revealed what we had all tried so hard to hide. I smell my dad burning the lasagna as he tries to please my stepmother and prevent another marriage from going up in flames like the dinner in the oven. I see an empty yard, which is now full of handmade tables and chairs, a garden, a chicken coop, an archway, a treehouse, all things my father built so he could build something permanent because his life just kept falling apart. And he couldn't construct 2 perfect daughters out of plywood and nails. So he went off and tried again with a new wife in a new town with new kids because somebody told him that practice makes perfect. I taste the cleaner in the air because my father has OCD, and it is the anniversary of the day that his own father went down into the basement and took so many pills, too many pills, he never got up. And maybe that's why I hate Advil. I feel my brother's eyes on me as they look for help when their stepmom stands crying at the dinner table during Thanksgiving. She left before dessert was served, and they are so little they don't understand. They don't understand how love can fall apart. They don't understand that the biggest lie anyone ever told was I do. They don't understand that eventually you stop seeing your lover as the still point of the turning world. They don't understand that love doesn't last. I see the door that I walked through to an empty house because my father had been sent to rehab because when he hit the bottle didn't hit back as hard as we did. And my stepmom took the boys to their grandmother's, and everyone forgot to tell me, forgot I was coming, forgot he was my father, forgot me. I feel salt, I hear broken glass, I taste red, I smell stitches, I hear fighting, I feel bruises, I see a lie. And he looks at this picture and sees a house, and she looks at this picture and sees a house, and you look at this picture and see a house, but I look at this picture and I do not see a house.
That was Gwen. We got scores. A 9.9, a 9.3, a 9.4, a 9.5, and a 9.1 for Gwen. Give it up for Gwen. We're gonna keep it going. Next up, we've got Shaylee.
You know that when I say we come from 2 different worlds, I'm not telling no lie. Raised in the West Hills, living off a trust fund in the downtown waterfront thrills. Meanwhile, I was living off Section 8 down on MLK. Food stamps, let's break bread, government commodities, peaches and cheese. Lord knows they're the only things that are edible to me. And while I watched drive-bys, you watched your father drive that golf club like it was nobody's business. And by golly, John, did you watch the 1984 Olympics? No, sir, I don't think I did. Because we can barely afford a roof over our head. So how could we afford a TV? It's an added expense. You know that when I say we come from 2 different worlds, I'm not telling no lie, because their people were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, while my mom and pops was worried about chrome bullets taking the unborn lives of their sons and daughters. And while their people prospered, mine was getting slaughtered. But this time it was the pigs doing the slaughtering. Pork fried human being, he's a little overdone, but I promise he won't be bothering you none. April 21st, 1985. Black male, age 31, father of 5. Name, Lloyd D. Stevenson. Cause of death, chokehold. Suspect, white male officer. Charge, not guilty. Don't choke 'em, smoke 'em. You know that when I say, we come from 2 different worlds, I'm not telling no lie. Because their people come from lies, deceit, and supremacy, while my people come from the truth, physical, mental, and spiritual abuse, along with perpetual misuse. They push minorities to the Ville only to gentrify the presiding areas. Then they push us to the east side saying gang wars were all right, saying it's okay for a child to hear gunshots while they sleep at night. And you say we're the same? Oh, so bleeding the same color somehow takes away from the truth? We are not the same. May 5th, 2003. Black female, age 21. Love daughter, innocent passenger. Name, Kendra James. Cause of death, shot once in the head. Suspect, white male officer. Charge, not guilty. Get out of the fucking car! You know that when I say, we come from 2 different worlds, I'm not telling no lie. Justice for James Jahar Perez, James Chase Jr., Keaton Otis, Aaron Campbell, the list goes on. But the past stays the same, and injustice remains.
Shaylee. People ask me, Taria, how do you stay looking so young? Poetry. Judges, whenever you're ready, you put your scores up or else I'll just keep talking. And I can talk a lot. All right, we got some scores. We got a 9.2, a 7.9, an 8.8, an 8.6, and a 9.3. Put your hands together for Shaylee. Our next poet, Say Kai. Put your hands together for Say Kai.
Yes, massa. No, massa. Please, massa. Yes, officer. No, officer. Please, officer. Displaced us from the very same places you forced us to live, forced us to lie, let my emotions be crucified. A deliberate homicide paired with an immediate genocide, asked to keep quiet in the face of a racist told, you're making her cry. A child of revolution and a slave to the system of convoluted ideas made to imprison my mind, keep us all behind. No sadness in the struggle because we have no time. Pair me with a bitch and hang me with your words. I will be the crazy black girl, and I will carry it with pride. I'm sorry I'm so radical that I believe we should all be equal, and I'm sorry that I tear at the weak bindings of your system because I believe in education and no, not this institution we send our children to now, not the one that has us believe that our forefathers weren't actually the 4 masters, and not the one who asked me to worship the same men who rape women as they lynch their husbands. Sorry I can't get on stage and recite a love letter to the same state that gave biannual nigger lashings to every black man, woman, and child so bold as to step foot in this state. Sorry I write so much about the color of my skin, but you still see my ethnicity next to my name when you call it out in the morning to see if I'm present. Sorry I refuse to learn about slavery in one chapter as a necessary building blocks to this nation, and sorry that I refuse to let you call them Ferguson riots, but demand they be called rebellions. I'm sorry that my pride offends you, but really, ain't that some shit? I'm sorry to the kids in class who are tired of hearing me talk about my history, but just so you know, I spent 15 years learning about yours. And I'm sorry you don't want to talk about it because it's so ugly, but honey, your mere existence echoes this, and your privilege is as prevalent as your history which precedes this. I will not be quiet for your convenience. I will gladly be kicked out of class before I allow you to tell lies about my people, before you teach your kids that the Black Panthers were out for blood, but do not teach them that the reason they had breakfast this morning was from the very same people your country marked as killers. I refuse to change my language so judges can find me more tolerable. I refuse to tell lies to score higher, and I absolutely refuse to apologize for being Black. So America, stop asking me to.
Sekai! Judges, what are your scores for Sekai? We have a 9.9, an 8.6, a 9.2, a 9.5, and a 9.4. Put your hands together for Sekai. Keep them going for our next poet, Maya. And let's clap our poets all the way up to the microphone.
This is called Note to Self. First things first, I am proud of you for keeping it together with all you've been through. Times were tough, but you're tougher because of it. No more thoughts of knocking over the bucket. Your aura is strong, personality of a goddess, fun and loving, wise and funny, comfortable and killing it with whatever style you go with for the day. Talkative, but it's all right to not have much to say. Dance your heart out regardless of the stares, because you're the only one that matters and cares. There will be more chances, because life goes on. Missing an opportunity doesn't always mean it's gone. It's your mentality, where you put your thoughts next. Think of yourself as unlimited and you will have it best. The world is on your side if you allow it to be there. Because at the end of the day, we should be happy to be here, right? My hopes and desires being spit through rhyme, because I realize when I do it's when I truly do shine. It's something that makes me happy, putting down my thoughts, but more like putting up, because these are my shots that I'm calling, and this is my calling. All the ink left on my hand, the curse to being someone who writes with the left hand, but it's a blessing, like everything else can be. Know what you owe it to love yourself. This is a message to you and me.
Maya. I feel so lucky that for the last couple decades, I've had the joy of working with talented young people. So I just want to thank all the beautiful people who participate. And this scores, we have, Renee, can you hold that up? I can't. A 9.7, a 7.7, an 8.9, an 8.2, and a 9.1. But put your hands together for the poet, Maya. Next up, we have Quentin. Keep him going until he gets all the way up on stage.
I want to just rant about some things I see, because I'm afraid my brothers aren't being all we can be. Now, that's an easy thing for me to say about some individuals, but this rant is also directed at me, so we can all be miserable. You may be mad, but look what I found. It's a bottle. Sit back and sip on this flavor, get glad, while I hold my brothers accountable. And when I say my brothers, I'm talking about anyone these traits pertain to. You can be black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, or something out the blue. But if this rant slaps you in the face, then I'm obviously talking to you. I don't have the best vision, But I'm gonna treat these problems like long division, multiple choice, pick the answer, make the right decision. And I'm wishing you're hearing this truth I'm dishing. Listen all the way through and maybe like the Seattle Seahawks, you'll get it next season. And without glasses or contacts, I'm basically legally blind, but I catch so many things that pop out of line that even if I close my eyes, that thin layer of skin can't hardly blind the bullshit that clouds the minds of my brothers that have a false perception of hard time. My brothers that think they are God. And I regret to inform you, those methods are flawed, and your lucky heat holds back the lightning rod while y'all running around playing God. And to my bros, my brothers that are quick to break the weed down and twist up, but skip class and forget to develop the skills it takes to work with employees and really get that dough up. Since money is what holds your X factor, why don't you handle your business and start a new chapter? Because I'm for sure money doesn't come to those living the life of a slacker. And to my brothers that think not snitching is easy, I'm only being honest when I say this statement loosely, that I know 25 to life would make any brother choosy. And why can we only have fun when flying through 9 clouds, when it puts us in a position of emptiness and fear of large crowds? You can't make your mother proud because you're lost in the sound of peer pressure. But I'm here to let you know that life ain't all about the pleasure. Did I just say that aloud? Am I speaking too loud when I say, my brothers, are you really waiting for your life to disappear in a mushroom cloud? I'm trying to keep my brothers up, never horizontal, but I feel like I'm not fast enough, losing my brothers on a periodical basis to a false oasis. See, this life leaves no traces. It'll royal flush you out with a few aces, my brothers. We can't keep going through these unproductive phases. We can be getting degrees and fulfilling our needs instead of depending on the government to plant our seeds, especially when we know they also plant the weeds and manipulate the breeze with something always up their sleeves to bring my brothers to their knees. Can we please do our best to see that things are messed up on the stage? I'm alone, but I speak for all my bros when I say we fed up with playing the victim. Back in the day, my brothers were fighting the system. But something from then to now changed, and our priorities got somehow rearranged, and we lost the mentality of leaders and picked up some negative habits like loose change. Getting more excited about becoming of age to hit the gun range instead of being praised for what we did on the stage of life. But things don't have to stay the same. I'm not a lame, but I'm feeling the flame that burned my shame. I'm glad I gave it a shot. My brothers, it's time to reclaim our fame. Thank you.
Quentin. You guys are a great audience, by the way. We got a 9.2, a 9.2, a 9.3, an 8.9, and a 9.5 for Quentin. Give it up for Quentin. Our next poet coming to the stage is going to be Isabel. Put your hands together for Isabel.
Yo estoy, no. Boku wa chaos, confusion, hurt, sad, angry, fleeing, fighting, curled up in a clamshell like a pearl and yet stripped bare. My heart lying on the cold metal table with shackled wrists and its chest cut open with surgical precision, the bloody, ugly insides open for all the world to see. Why do we feel? Why do we allow ourselves to be pushed around by these things, forces, beings, kanjo, feelings? Why do we let them rule us? No. More than rule us, we make them into gods, worship the ground they step on, appeasing Aphrodite, hoping to win her favor because everyone covets love, offerings to the earth shaker to control your rage, searching for Persephone hopelessly to stave off Demeter's despair. Why do we? Things like being happy, being satisfied with your life, lies. Lies, all of them, because how can you be happy and satisfied when you live in constant fear of despair and grief? It never changes. a never-ending cycle, hopeless as Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill in hell for all of eternity. We are all pushing the rocks of love and joy, I, Toyorokobi, up the hills of our lives, but like Sisyphus, atoning for his sins, we will never reach the top and be freed. Kanjo, feelings, I don't want them. I don't want to need them, need the aching, hollow feeling that never leaves me alone, but maybe I'm just forever waltzing with pain. Maybe I'm a masochist who loves being hurt, having my chest cut open with surgical precision and all of the blood and feelings pouring out like I'm lying there dying, and oh, isn't it beautiful? Maybe that's the reason why we keep holding on to these feelings, because when we're not screaming, crying, running, hurting, when we're clear-sighted, or maybe in love, the butterflies in our hearts shed their black wings and become, for a moment, beautiful.
Isabel. We got lots of talent coming to this stage. And our judges are busily crunching numbers, imagining, how do I score this? And we have an 8.2, a 7.7, an 8.6, a 7.9, and an 8.7. Put your hands together again for Isabel. And next up, coming to the stage, we have Janet.
After a while, the eyes that follow you become interrogation lights. And the cars that slow down for a better look seem like ice cream trucks with their stickers peeling, and your skin starts itching. After a while, concrete becomes minefields and smiles become hungry, and you cross your fingers to walk through playgrounds. After a while, compliments become white knuckles on your neckline, and whistles become impatient fingers. After a while, nothing becomes all eyes on you, and you become prey, and your skin starts itching. After a while, teeth bruise and hands bite and shoulders cringe and neck down and look straight, and fast steps and closing your eyes is weak. After a while, bus stops become cages, and cages become the better option, and your skin starts itching. After a while, fingers are always curled around keys, but his fingers could be curled around knives, or worse, around you, and fingers through your hair pull like puppet strings and sciatic nerves, and fingers on your arms hit bone, and his fingers are stronger than your fingers, so he can pull you in like a rag doll and sew buttons over your eyes. After a while, you can only see through 4 holes, and needles through your temporal lobe start to hurt, but closing your eyes is weak, and your skin starts itching. You are someone's daughter. Or maybe you're someone's son. One day, if you want to be, you'll be someone's mother, or maybe someone's father. You are someone's neighbor, you're someone's student, you're someone's teacher, you're someone's friend, you're someone. But after a while, you forget that. And you start to imagine what it'd be like if he ripped your hair till it's thick red yarn, and scratched off your clothes and your feathers and your wings until there's nothing left but bones and the dress your grandmother stitched together. After a while, you start to believe that if you let him tear you apart and wrap you in fabrics and turn you to rags, then maybe your skin
would stop itching. Thank you.
That was Janet. The 4th annual Verselandia competition. It's getting bigger every year. But let's clap for the poet, for Janet. Our scores are an 8.1, a 9.1, an 8.3, an 8.3, and an 8.7 for Janet. Put your hands together again for Janet. And while you're clapping, let's bring our next poet up here, Kairika. Put your hands together for Kairika.
The real MVP. That I am. Waded into the sun and broke down all the dams. A smart girl I am, walked out the water and hopped in a car. Put it in reverse and switched gears, headed on a new path to my new career in my own road with my own vision so it was clear. Steered away from all the debris. Kicked everyone out because I was the only one riding for me. I became stingy. Said I was gonna love myself more. But little did I know I was gonna have a lot of fellas and some other opportunities waiting at my door. Listen, I'm the main attraction. Everybody wants to ride with Kai. Main attraction, so attractive, just this beautiful mystery on the outside. All people want to explore. And little did y'all know, everybody loves Kai. And don't mistake this as cockiness, it's just a little bit of confidence that's been so coincidentally caught up in my consciousness that's just been waiting to let go. I got so much more in store, nothing less but a lot more, and I know God's got my back because he has a plan for me, something great to help my wings soar. Just waiting for me to make my presence known on the floor. Who is she? Oh yeah, that's me. The one all people want to aspire to be. And many may not understand the path that I chose at all, but if it was easy, everyone would do it. But then it wouldn't be a road for me, it would be the answer for everybody, like when you're on your hands and knees at a prayer call. But that's not the case, because I chose to stand tall. I know this is the right direction, because God has the final say. He led me through a fire, and I came out the conqueror through the final brawl. See, there's beauty in the struggle, only because the outcome is the best. And then that's when I realized that I'm nothing like the rest. And then on top of that, I realized how much that I've been blessed. And out of nowhere, who would have guessed that writing all these poems was just a release of all my stress? Open up my chest, remove this bulletproof vest, because I can say so positively that there was no one or no thing that could stop me in my quest. Thank you.
Kairika. Let's give it up for all the poets so far. We've got some scores. We got an 8.1, an 8.8, an 8.5, an 8.9, and an 8.3. Put your hands together for Kairika. And next up, we have Fiona.
This is me at at a party. I'm laughing at a gay joke that was made in poor taste because I don't feel comfortable enough in my surroundings to say anything. I know I'll be met with, it's okay, I can say that. I'm gay, as if his sexuality gives him a free pass to make me feel uncomfortable and shy away. And as he grabs my breast, he says, see, I can do that. I'm gay, as if his sexuality gives him permission to grope and assault me against my wishes. I laugh, for I must feign comfort so that no one in the room must feel the weight of the situation but me. And this nonsense is daily. Do you see? I'm told over and over again that as a bisexual person with a vagina, that everything about me is disgusting and a lie. After all, vaginas are so nasty. I'm an object in their eyes, and a dirty one at that, but can't you take a joke? After all, if the gays are so bad, why don't you just go hang out with lesbians instead? See, you see, the irony of it is the gay women can make me see just as much red. So I'm out with this lesbian couple I know, and it's all fun and games, except it's noted that you're not a real lesbian, Fiona, because liking both is a bit greedy, don't you think? And it's also noted that you're never gonna find a real girlfriend. I, for one, would never wanna go near where a dick has been. And again, I'm an object. I'm treated like a reject. Please continue to use my vagina as an insult. Vilify this thing that can create new life. That makes sense. As if having a vagina was something I chose. Most days I don't even want it. For the record, I am also genderqueer, and if I had $1 for every time someone asked me, so wait, you hate your vagina? When I say that I am genderqueer, because no, I don't. It's just, well, really, if I hate anything, it's the concept of the gender binary itself. But anyway, best I can say is I feel in between when everything around me just screams woman, femme, and don't be obscene. It's just not always easy, especially when people ask me, can't you just make up your mind? But I think you'll find I know where I'm aligned, and the conclusion I came to is that I am a genderqueer bisexual. But then someone will have the audacity to tell me, oh, honey, don't label yourself. Labels put people in boxes. But don't you understand that sometimes those labels are all I have? Sometimes when I can't count on anyone in my life to support me just the way I am, those labels support me. They remind me of the hard times and let me know that it wasn't for nothing. They let me know that I have come out the other side, knowing who I am and what I'm feeling. Those labels are a part of me, and I am proud of them, which should mean no one is able to use them against me, right?
Fiona. We're always clapping for the poet, regardless of the scores, because we love the poets. They're all amazing. And we have a 9.5, a 9.2, a 9.2, a 9.3, and a 9.5. Put your hands together for the poet, Fiona. Our next poet coming to the stage is Leah. Put your hands together for Leah.
Slam poetry is not anger. Just clarifying. Because it's not about talking about how bad society is or complaining about the earth. No, it is not. They only ask you to think of something that bothers you because you can think. You want to yell, you want to scream, tell them how you feel, make them believe you. Spit your fire, words fall like waterfalls, explosions are emotions. You just need the spark. Because words hurt more than punches or kicks. They last decades, not days. But that's just the anger in poetry. Poetry is so much more. It can make you feel, it's needles on you, making you feel emotions, making me think differently. Poetry is you. You write your poetry, you make me think differently. Please tell me what you believe in, because I don't know what you believe in yet, because your poetry is how I judge you, because your poetry is you. So instead of telling me about people that are more beautiful than you, tell me about the beauty inside yourself. Don't tell me about the earth and what we can fix. Tell me how to fix it first before you suggest anything. Because poetry is me, poetry is you, poetry is everybody. So it's not just anger, and I'm sorry if that's what starts you. Because if poetry to you is anger, if your anger comes through poetry, then I'll take that. But slam poetry is not anger. Slam poetry is you. Thank you.
Leah! Our judges might be getting a little bit of hand fatigue. Maybe they need a little applause for the judges. It's not an easy job. And we do have 4 scores, 5 scores, a 7.8, an 8.2, an 8.4, a 7.6, and an 8.8 for Leah. Our next poet, Havana. Put your hands together for Havana.
I could talk about how when I complain about the unwelcome gaze of a stranger, an unwanted touch, or a vulgar comment, people tell me I should take it as a compliment. I could talk about how saying I'm underage doesn't protect me from adult men who don't take no for an answer. How late-night TV commercials advertise barely legal and just turned 18, as if the passing of a birthday suddenly makes it okay for a grown man to lust after the same young girl he would have gotten arrested for being with the day before. I could talk about how my outfit speaks louder than my shouts of no, how the length of my skirt is a deciding factor in the amount of respect I deserve. I could talk about how when a girl is raped, the common question asked is not, are you okay, but what were you wearing? How if you were robbed, no one would ask if you were drunk, but if you were raped, they would, as if a few beer slurred speech and an unbalanced walk could somehow equal consent. I could talk about how we have to be labeled as their mothers and their sisters and their daughters just so they'll care when someone defiles us. As if simply being women isn't enough of a reason to be cared about. I could talk about how no matter the time of day, I have to walk home with my keys between my fingers like makeshift blades just in case, God forbid, I catch someone's eye. I could talk about how they warn us of glassy-eyed men in trench coats, but not of the boys who say they love you with hand pressed against mouth to cover up your screams of protest. I could talk about how one touch, just one, will ruin a child's life forever. How you never stop feeling their hands on you. How to this day, even with your eyes wide open, you can still see their face. How it eats at you day by day until you feel almost as empty as you did when it first happened. I could talk about how sometimes it's not always a stranger. Sometimes it's someone who builds up your trust with sturdy bricks and mortar just to knock it down and leave you in the wreckage. I could talk about how our bodies are supposed to be our temples, but even when you shut the doors, people try and pick the locks. I could talk about all of those things, but I'm afraid no one will listen.
Havana. If you want to check the pulse of the country, you come to Verselandia. We're almost to the 5th score. A 9.6. Let's applaud the poet. A 9.6, an 8.2, a 9.3, an 8.8, and a 9.0 for Havana. Our next poet coming to the mic is going to be Jamie. Put your hands together for Jamie.
Three-fourths of the world's conflicts recruit children as soldiers. Children younger than I are forced to kill or be killed for adults who can't resolve their own conflicts. These children do not have a voice of their own. It is only through the voice of others that they can find freedom. Tiny fingers grip an AK, fire in eyes, war in ears. 4 feet tall, 4 feet of death and destruction. 8 years old, 8 years of grief and ruin. I am but a child, bravely pushing the front line into a battle without meaning, never knowing that I'll only get one shot at life. I am a soldier, lives taken without remorse, never believing it can get worse, but it can. Raped in barracks, thrust into battle, a never-ending cycle of pain and no gain. I am both puppet and veil for cowardly men who would strip me of my innocence and for what? Stolen from home and mother, me and another 300,000 boys and girls. A village of fire left behind, no teddy bear to cuddle, only a cold metal trigger and death at the end of the line.
Jamie. So all around this city, students have been competing with their classmates and peers in order to get a spot on the stage. You can hold your scores up while I talk, please do. That's what I'm waiting for. And so it's not easy road to get to this stage. So everyone has made big accomplishments just to get here. So let's clap for our poet Jamie as I read these scores. 8.2, a 9.1, an 8.7, a 7.7, and an 8.8 for Jamie. Next up, we have Mitch. Put your hands together for Mitch.
Dear God, who are you? Now, I'm no man of faith, so what do I know? Who the fuck do you think you are? You're supposed to be some beacon of hope shining down from the heavens, the helping hand that picks me up when I fall down. But in the 14 years of life I've lived, I've never encountered this God, fellow. Dear God, I don't know you, and I don't even know if you exist. But from the things I've heard about you, I know you didn't come down from the heavens to write some book. And I'm no better than the next guy. But I don't need to follow some holy rule book to find my divine purpose. One written by a bunch of ancient religious radicals all huddled around a fire in some cave outside Jerusalem 3,000 years ago. Dear God, Allah, Zeus, Odin, God, the creator, you come in many different forms, but look at what you've apparently created. A species that wages war in all four corners of the world. Violence goes on in every city. But where are you? You made us to become this? We could really use that helping hand right now, and in fact, if I don't receive that helping hand soon enough, I don't know if I want to live anymore on this sinking ship of an earth as we are swallowed into the depths of the ocean. Dear God, why is it that every time that me or someone I love is in need, you are nowhere to be seen? You sit up there in your golden throne of paradise and solace while we sit down here in agony, burning like the hell we are taught to believe in. Why don't you put out our fire, dear God? My dad, he's a real big fan of yours. He's been trying to get me hooked onto you for years, but I'm not buying it. Because what have you ever done for him? Hell, what have you ever done for any of your followers? You and your followers have this parasitic relationship, this one-way street of connection. You feed off of them, off of their faith, their devotions, their souls. You, God, You're no better than a leech. And if you can forgive all of the liars and the cheaters and the scumbags of this earth, I hope you can forgive me.
That was Mitch. If you're glad you're here tonight, make some noise. We've got an 8.8, a 9.2, an 8.7, a 9.2, and another 8.8 for Mitch. Our next poet coming to the stage is going to be Ashley. Put your hands together for Ashley.
Grades are pretty important. I mean, every parent loves to see all A's. No parent wants to know that their child is a fucking failure. A stupid lowlife who can't get the grade when it's obviously so easy to pass. So why are you such an idiot? A good grade can make you feel on top of the world. But a bad grade can grab your heart and rip it to shreds like the paper you hold in your hands. And as you hold it, it becomes wet with tears because why didn't you know that answer, you idiot? There's no hope for someone like you. So you stop paying attention in class. You look at your phone and see someone mention their problems and how they dealt with it. So you try their way. You buy a pencil sharpener, and you break it apart. And you watch as the sliver of silver meshes with the rubies, and you forget, just for a little bit, you're such an idiot. But soon, the small tally marks aren't enough. And after a long day, you mark a religious-like cross from wrist to elbow, and you fall to your knees as if in prayer. Deeper, and it's an ocean of life force flowing onto the beige waves of the carpet. You don't call out. Your family finds you as a blanket of black covers you, and you think to yourself, no more idiot. But you wake up to harsh light and a tight bandage around the wound you wish would open again, and you scream, and you cry, and you cry, and you cry. Because you can't even die right, you idiot. Someone eventually comes in, and they begin to speak as you begin to listen. And they tell you something that you'll paraphrase into a poem later, and you'll speak it to an audience that you hope will understand it faster than you ever did. That you're not that test score. You're not that missed question. You are not that failed exam. When you help your sibling with their homework, that's you. When you assist a stranger in need, that's you. When you offer your shoulder for a friend to cry on for hours, that's you. You may stumble, and you may fall. You may even feel like an idiot. But no. You are amazing. You are beautiful, and you are perfect. And grades? Grades ain't got nothing on you.
That was Ashley. I just want to put it out there. I had mediocre grades, and I turned out okay. I just want you all to know. High school can be great years, but there's so much great stuff after. All right, we got an 8.5, an 8.9, an 8.9, an 8.9, and an 8.7. Put your hands together for Ashley. Our next poet coming to the stage is Bella.
The ice cream truck was outside of school today. Adolescents clambered around the bright pink vehicle, attempting to purchase their childhood in the form of a rocket ship popsicle. The preface of adulthood has been deemed unsatisfactory, so they seek the comfort of the cool dairy treat accompanied by the 50s music their mother used to play. But something is different. They have to pay for their nostalgia now. They reach into their pockets, hands gently brushing past pierced navels like many a boy on a late spring night, and they discover that their money is their own. Their lives are their own. Messy and chaotic and spilled like the milk they once wept for, and after begging for independence, these children, faces painted and dressed up in mommy's high heels, yearn for the first time for what used to be after years of wishing on stars for this moment. Listen closely, my friends. This moment you're blinking at, this is the ice cream. It is all that has been and all that will be. Let it slide down your throat slowly, for this frozen treat is finite. Learn to love the brain freeze, because there are nights when hell gets pretty damn hot, and you'll find yourself screaming for ice cream until you grow hoarse, and there will be no creepy ice cream man to heed the call. Since he will not be there then, go there now. Pay for your overpriced delight, but do not remember. Experience. Remembrance is the only way to waste the present, and before you know it, your ice cream will have congealed on the floor, and then who will buy you another?
Keep your hands going for Bella. Judges, do we have some scores? We have an 8.9, a 9, an 8.9, a 9.3, and a 9.7 for Bella. And our next poet coming to the stage is going to be Alexis. Put your hands together for Alexis.
Racism does not exist, says the well-off white man living on the hill. Racism does not exist, says the woman who had never been asked to drop her bag in the store, says the man who had trouble getting a job, says the man who had never been stopped by police, says the man who had never been murdered by police. I know what you're thinking, another kid getting rowdy over race. Look at her face. Well, you would be too if your friend was tased by police. And it doesn't matter whether or not he was a good kid on the football team or someone lost in negative extremes, he's just a kid, minding his own business, but then soon a victim of being suspicious. The whole scene was vicious and left me with a sickness, left me feeling ill, and these cops were left with a thrill. They're doing their same damn drill, waiting to pounce on their next kill. And the police reports were long because I know that they know that we know they did something wrong, and it's not about blacks fixing whites or whites fixing blacks. It's shining a light on the dark tunnel of ignorance our people are so lost in. Gentrification will not solve our cause. Portland itself has the worst faux pas, #1 in the nation for pushing out communities. White businessmen come in thinking they're building immunity, all while cultures struggle to survive. Black, Latino, Asian, Native, the whole beehive. And our women have got it the worst. The queens of all cultures just seem to be cursed. Why are we still talking about rape? And the way that the rapist is praised, why are we saying that the victim is to blame? To be asking for it or not to be asking for it. She must have been, her shoulders were showing and her legs were all skin. So what if consent was not given? No one will believe her, she belongs in the kitchen.
And for God's sake, stop hitting on us in the street. Don't tell me to smile. It's not as flattering as you think. I don't have to live up to these expectations you hold. These whistles and compliments are really getting old. Bold choices made by these grown men, yet if women were to try them, we'd be far from commended. But men don't have it off the hook completely. Don't show too much emotion. Don't be less than man. Don't talk like a woman. Don't throw like a woman. Don't love like a woman. God forbid you resemble anything woman. But the strongest thing you could be is woman. Fight like a woman, create life like a woman, or to not create life like a woman, because after all, it is her choice. And just because you have a vagina doesn't make you a chick, and having a dick doesn't make you a guy. Lies told to us early on to make us believe what's right and what's wrong. Don't be with the one you love if you have the same junk. Don't be on the outside looking in. It's cold out there. The world is a dark and scary place. We blame society for suicide, yet are we not society just standing by on the sidelines? Genocide is a crime against humanity, and pushing people off the edge with words seems to be too. The United States is considered a developed country, built on guns and germs and steel, built on the graves of lost cultures and the brittle yet burly bones of our ancestors, but we love it here. We raise that flag, put our right hand on our heart. One nation under God, we say in unison, while the descendants of its architectures lie in prison. But we don't mind. We keep our heads high. While you may think we all coexist, just remember, none of these things exist. Thank you.
Alexis. We are going to have one more poet in this round once I get some scores, judges. We have a 9.5, a 9.1, a 9.3, an 8.5, and a 9.5. Put your hands together again for Alexis. Coming up to the stage and winding down this first round of poetry, put your hands together for Rona!
6 things you will learn about being American-born Chinese. 1. When you are 7 and the kids at school pull up the outer corners of their eyes, call you chink or gook, you will not get it. You will not understand why they sneer at your lunches and your clothes and your punctured speech. You will not comprehend the truth, and that may be a blessing. 2. At 8, your favorite after-school television program features a Mandarin-speaking character, only the voice actor only speaks gibberish, with the subtitle "Speaking Chinese" flashing bold underneath, as if that's good enough to fool you. You learn this is how your language is perceived, a string of nonsense. 3. At 9, your mother still stumbles over vowels, cannot spit out her words without first dipping them in foreign tones, and you are embarrassed. Don't be. Be proud of the courage it took for her to cross an ocean into a foreign land which told her she didn't belong, which told her, go home. Be proud of the tenacity it took to survive the winters of food stamps and one-room apartments for 3, the tenacity it took to survive the winters of food stamps and the winters of food stamps and one-room apartments for 3, the tenacity it took for to clip coupons and sift through Goodwill racks, all for the American dream. 4, in middle school, you will rebel against the stereotypes that seem to hold you hostage. You will quit the piano, sweep away your love for math and science, bring home report cards with C's. Model minority. That's a good one. You will find yourself hating the color of your skin, the heavy clunk of your last name, the food your parents cook, and you will keep wishing to be less. Less of an outsider, less of a string of expectations you failed to meet. Less, less, less. 5. But here is the thing.
It is impossible to extinguish the burning flame that is your ancestors' home. You will find yourself loving China, the constant buzz of Beijing streets, the proper way to haggle at the markets, echoing temples that sing of yesterday, flecked city smoke and salt and light. A nation more than what you have been told, more than rice patties and swollen crowds and internet scams. It is something breathing and bright. 6. Your heritage is more than an exotic enigma. It is more than yellow fever. It is more than studious Ivy League-bound kids with tiger parents. It is more than pork soup dumplings in a language that sounds like pots and pans. And it is more than everything you were afraid of. Thank you.
Rona! While you're clapping, let's clap for everybody in that first round. Some amazing, amazing, amazing words. We've got some scores: a 9.1, an 8.1, a 9.0, an 8.4, and an 8.1. Put your hands together again for Rona. So there might be some announcements. Am I supposed to tell you guys about this? Yes, I announce the intermission. That's my job. I am the MC. Before I announce and let you guys go, I want to take a moment and just say that oftentimes I hear adults, people that are old like me, say things like, these young people today, I'm so worried about our future. And I just hope that in hearing these words and all the wisdom, insight, intelligence, and poetry that these young folks have brought to the stage, that we all really reframe how we look at young people in our society. Let's give them all another big round of applause. They're not just on electronics. They're thinking and contemplating serious issues. And I love that, I respect that, and I thank all of you for sharing your words. We are going to take a brief intermission after this round right now for 15. All right. So I would like to share with you the names, not in order of their appearance in this final round, but the 10 finalists. We have, in no particular order, Quentin, Havana, Sekai, Taya, Shaylee, Bella, Gwen, Mitch, Alexis, and Fiona are our 10 finalists. Now, before I call our first reader in the second round to the mic, can we give one more round of applause to all of our competitors this evening? And while your hands are going, our first poet in the second round is going to be Shaylee.
"20 births, 5 deaths. I guess we, as human beings, have become nothing more than a few carbon exerting breaths. A paycheck for CEOs of big corporations that support the use of cancer-causing chemical agents. We have been divided into categories and financial allegories. Don't let them let you think for a second that you are worth anything. Unless you make over $500,000 a year, have political affiliations, and a stronghold over this great nation, and they tell us to be patient. Justice will come. But I'm here to tell you something. There is no justice, only the busted open hearts of mothers and fathers who lose their sons and daughters, whether it be to their own communities or to the government who give guilty officers immunity. And they beg us to be in a state of peace and unity, to assemble in a calm and collected manner, to not throw Molotovs dear Mr. President begs us to stop. Well, I will not hop on that bandwagon. I will not put down my picket sign. I will not support a system that allows innocent lives to be taken. I will not. I repeat, I will not. Now you all repeat, I will not. Don't let them let you think for a second that you are worth anything, unless you are of some benefit financially. And your $50,000 a year is nothing. You are an expense. And if you are on food stamps or welfare, you are at the government's dispense. Oh, and I'm sure some rich white man has sent his condolences for the lives lost, when in reality, he is in support of whoever tossed that child's life away as if it was worth pennies instead of being priceless. Could you imagine viewing a human life as if it was on some sort of price list? But to this system, you are a human barcode, America's cargo, taken before there was a thought of conception in your mother's womb, consumed by whatever media is placed in front of your face. Don't let them let you think for a second that you are worth anything. Don't let them let you think for a second that you are worth nothing. Because all of our lives have worth. There is no truth in the hateful words and accusations. We have assembled demonstrations for all the races, embraced our thought-filled brains, and created monumental change. I am more than an income, more than the melanin in my skin or the lack thereof. Don't let them let you think for a second that you are worth nothing. You are the college graduate, the young boy who refused to take up his mother's drug habit. You are the Dolores Huerta, the single mother taking care of 2 kids. You are the Winona LaDuke, the janitor who will clean this place when we all leave. We refuse to be silenced.
Shaylee. Kicking off the second round here at Verselandia. The judges had a break, so they got to get warmed back up a little bit. We got a 9.8, a 9.3, an 8.9, a 9.1, and an 8.9. Put your hands together again for Shaylee. Coming up next to the stage, we have Bella. Put your hands together for Bella.
In the dictionary, poetry is defined as a literary work in metrical form, but I think I have discovered the simplest definition in the curve of your smile and the arc of your eyebrow and the smell of your neck. You are poetry. You are every word of every love poem I am too afraid to write embodied. You are the saliva spit from my lips to a microphone. You are the pounding heart rate you get when you're writing a poem that you love, like I am right now, because you are poetry. And I love you, and I'm starting to hate the word love because I must have whispered the sentiment into your ear 1,000 times, and I still don't think you're getting it. I stare at you from across the hall just to make sure you're smiling enough. No, not the one you use to be polite, the one where I hope to live someday. The only thing of which I am certain is that I wish to spend the rest of my days thanking whatever God makes your chest rise and fall with breath For whoever created you, their hands stained with clay and fire and passion, also sent you to me so you could teach me the difference between being loved and being fixed. And I have done nothing to deserve this lesson except love you. And this is why I'm starting to hate that word, because I don't love you in that bullshit Degrassi Junior High homecoming date, bubblegum tied to yours, wear my class ring, love me always kind of way. I love you because you exist. I love you the way rain loves a tulip, where it's worth falling if it means you get to bloom. Tomorrow, I will try and write a poem about being okay without you, because I suppose that's why tomorrows were invented. But today, I need you to know that I need you. I need you to know that my heart still tries to beat with yours, only I don't think you can hear it anymore. And if tomorrow exists for the broken-hearted trying to heal, well then today exists for the contented lovers, and it used to be my favorite day of the week. But now I dread its arrival, knowing you're scheduled to hold someone who is as okay with you as they are without you. You see, okay has never really been an adjective fit for my wearing, but with you around to help with the zipper, better slipped on perfectly well. And it's true that I want you. I want your scary and your darkness. I want to be woken up by your nightmares. I want every piece of yourself you keep hidden for fear of being alone, just so you can watch me stay. You have managed to find the only girl physically incapable of running away. And I am not poetry, but I have been blessed to be a writer of it, a vessel for it, a vessel for you. You make me want to write poems on my eyelids. You make me want to forgive God, because I know God wrote this poem into my life, and I pray to read it until I go blind.
That was Bella. We've got a 9.9, a 9.6, a 9.5, a 9.6, and a 9.8. Put your hands together for Bella. Next up to the mic, we have Taya.
Show of hands, how many of you like poetry? Kind of what I thought. And I'm sure whether you're old or young, when your teacher said, "Come on, kids, we're doing a poetry unit," you smiled and gripped your pen like a sword, like one of those guys on Game of Thrones, and you were so ready. Until the boy sitting in the back with his snapback on backwards said, "Oh, no, I hate poetry." And you knew he wasn't worthy of the weapon we wield. See, poets wouldn't wear a sign over their head that says, "I'm a poet and I know it." No, we wouldn't be so obvious. We live marvelously mundane lives just like you, but we are different. See, when you cut a normal person, they slap a Band-Aid on it. But when you cut a poet, they bleed and bleed until they wipe the blood onto paper, and the blood becomes words, and the words become a poem. So don't cut a poet, because they'll cut you back. Us poets, we use our victims as material. Our words give us an air that makes us seem imperial. Poets never strike once, like Lucky Charms were cereal. So beware of the serial poet in your life. Don't shake hands with any of us scintillating sinners, because it could be the last hand you ever shake. After all, poetry is the gateway drug to murder.
Taya! Judges, what are your scores for Taya? A 9.0, a 9.0, a 9.3, a 9.1, and an 8.9 for Taya. Next up, we have Fiona.
On the first day, God created light. On the second day, there was water. On the third day, land. And on the fourth, the sun, the moon, the stars. The fifth day, there was a great number of birds and sea creatures. The sixth day, God created man. The seventh day, he rested. But we all know this, but what we don't know is that on the eighth day, man created the stereotype. Ah, the stereotype, an age-old tradition passed down through the centuries to teach all the good little boys and girls that I am a dirty, money-grubbing Jew. But let me tell you something, I am not your stereotype. I am not the bacon I don't eat, so don't ask me, can you eat this? Nor am I the matzah that I do eat, and while we're talking about matzah, no, I do not grind up the blood and bones of innocent Christian boys to make it. I've gotten that question. Don't think I'm stupid like a person from the town of Chelman if you got that reference. Hey. My hair may curl around my face, but it can just as easily curl around your neck when you try and reduce me to my religion, my culture. When you try to make me anything less than the powerhouse of a woman that I am. But I am not your Anne Frank. You cannot shut me away any more than you can silence my voice and stop me from painting on the canvas that is me and perfecting the masterpiece that is my life. But some days I still wish I had a golem for my own clay wall of protection. But I will not stoop to search for the penny you threw at my feet to prove a point, but you best bet that I will get angry when you, Mr. English teacher, ignore the use of the word kike in The Great Gatsby, or how you do not address that the one Jewish character of the year's literature is in this book, and that he has a bulbous nose and cufflinks made of teeth. Take that imagery and shove it, Fitzgerald. Those teeth you put on those cufflinks, try telling that to my people who had their teeth wrested from their skulls to pay for the Third Reich. Explain to me personally, Fitzgerald, your need to fuel these stereotypes. Because I am not your stereotype. I am the sum of my parts, not just some of my parts, and you cannot pick me apart and tell me what I am or am not. I am me, and I will be a proud Jewish woman on my terms.
Fiona. Judges, what scores do you have for Fiona in the second round? An 8.9, a 9.3, a 9.4, a 9.2, and a 9.1. Put your hands together for Fiona. And coming up to the stage next, Sekai. Put your hands together for Sekai.
I'm like that first art project you do in beginner art, where your teacher gives you a can of white paint and black paint and tells you to mix them together and you get this weird color of gray. And then your class has this whole conversation on how gray isn't actually a color. I'm that gray, but not 50 Shades of it. That's not where this is going. I'm that problem that your math teacher puts on the board in the beginning of the year and watches as even the smartest kids in class can't get it right. Like, he knows it because he went out with a couple problems like that in college. Never introduced them to his parents, but took a couple courses on rap culture and the Harlem Renaissance, so he's definitely got you figured out. Like, give him a couple tries and a little guess and check, and he could probably get it right. Like, since I was 5 years old, people have been asking me what I am. Like, what are you? And I was like, I'm black. And they were like, oh, that's cute. What else? And I was like, I'm black. And then as I got older, people got a little more confused, like mixed my GPA with my vernacular and what rich white people like to call my articulation. And no one could believe that I came from a household with 2 black parents. And get ready for it, my dad has always been in my life. And I got one more myth buster for you. I'm not on welfare. Crazy, right? Crazy. I'm like a unicorn within the ideals of white Americans. But the funniest thing is, after I do this, I bet at least one of you is gonna come up to me and go, hi, nice to meet you, great poem, powerful story. Insert story about you not being racist here. So if you don't mind, let me ask you, what are you? And I shall respond like so. I am black. Not African American, nor am I politically correct. I am black, and sometimes I talk with a twang, forget my O's, drop my G's, and talk like my mother ain't never taught me a damn thing. I am black. God created the black woman and let us birth the rest of you into this world, but before I keep going, it's funny because half of you are looking at me like I'm speaking blasphemy right now. Is it because I'm black, or because I'm telling white America that they can shove their oppressive, racist, misogynistic culture right up their tightly won assholes? I am the slave's greatest dream, and your grandpappy the master's worst nightmare. I am a cultural connection to our past oppression. I am the future and the past. I object to the ideal that yin is bad and black is evil, because I mean, come on, people. Let's look at history. I am black. Like the ocean's greatest secret and the lion's greatest mane, I am black, I am black, I am black. So this right here is for everybody that loves to ask me, so what are you?
Say Kai. I'm having so much fun. This is great. 9.9, 9.4, 9.4, and 9.2, and a 9.2 for Sakai. Next up, we have Gwen. Put your hands together for Gwen.
He is a burning house I want to live in. Because maybe if you douse the flames with your blood, your flesh, yourself, maybe you could put the fire out. Maybe you'll be enough. Maybe you could save him. But eventually, you'll start giving too much of yourself, and your futile efforts will watch the flame spread and grow even larger, because as it turns out, good intentions are flammable. If you're smart, you'll run as fast as you can until you can't smell the color black, and until the billowing clouds are tiny in the distance. You'll watch the house implode on itself from a safe place, and then you'll keep running, even if you always did kind of love the smell of campfire. But if you're not smart, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you like the way the flames lick a little too close to your skin. Maybe when the smoke is scratching at the inside of your lungs, you feel refreshed, because at least you and the smoke are both trapped, and misery always loves company, even if it is just for one night. But if you come crawling from the ashes with third-degree burns, cuts, and bruises, don't expect others to heal you, because they won't. Expect to numb your bruises with a sip or two, but the morning after, expect them to hurt just as much as when he gave them to you. People's eyes will avoid your purple skin like a scarlet letter, a symbol but you were too weak to escape. Expect the scratches to be carved into your bones, embedding your marrow with the reminder that you made the decision to sabotage yourself. You walked into a burning house and expected to come out with no burns. It's not the house's fault that you had your eyes closed, or at least that's what he keeps telling you. Expect the burns to leave scars that affectionate fingers will touch and curious eyes will devour. And you can pray to God that one day you can be touched without turning to ash. But when you're praying to God, don't ask for forgiveness, because God is the one that created fire. He fell in love with my flowers, but then autumn came and the petals fell and my branches weren't enough for him, so he had to cut down the whole tree and tear up the roots. Now my bed is not a sanctuary, but a reminder that soft sheets can cut deeper than butcher knives. This was not the poetic breaking of a heart. This was not a tragic love story. This was a natural disaster so large they had to name it after him. He was the cruelest lesson I was ever forced to learn, and the title of that lesson was Boyfriend. That burning house will live within you, but you must be careful not to catch fire yourself, because what you don't want to accept is this. That house will burn whether or not you are in it, and you will just be collateral damage.
Gwen. It's warm on the stage up here. These poets, man, they're heating it up in here. Judges, we have some scores. A 9.2, a 9.6, a 9.6, a 9.7, and a 9.8 for Gwen. Next up to the mic, we have Havana. Put your hands together for Havana.
For some kids, music is traded in for the sounds of parents screaming, branding their orchestrated war on the child between them. One home becomes two, like the dividing of a cell, and they have to learn the hard way that two is not better than one. The only colors they know are blood red, purple bruised, and the pink of skin rubbed raw. Magic kits and model airplane kits become rape kits, and your mind grows up too fast, even though your arms and legs are screaming that you're still just a baby. Some touches of parents are far from loving, flinching at the slightest brush of a shoulder because the only kind of touch you were taught about made your skin crawl. Alcohol bottles or house decorations and liquor drowns out the moms who don't come to soccer games and the dads who didn't know how good you were at painting. Dads who leave in the dead of night and stay gone for 3 days, and the moms who red-faced find a condom wrapper in the car. To these kids, love only means dark rooms and parents who only touch when it's meant to hurt, or parents who aren't there at all. But the problem is, it's not some kids, it's most.
Havana. If you love poetry, make some noise. And the scores are a 9.1, an 8.9, a 9.1, a 9.1, and an 8.7. Put your hands together for Havana. Oh, but we're not done. We've got a few more poets coming to this mic, and next up it's going to be Mitch. Put your hands together for Mitch.
Sometimes at night, I walk along this long, dark, narrow path of concrete, the one that they call 87th. The darkness envelops me, but the blankets of light littered amongst the street illuminate me. and leave behind a familiar, dark, distasteful reflection. I gaze behind me, but all I can see is me. We call these dark reflections shadows. I've coexisted with these dark passengers for my whole life. Even in the light, I find it hard to escape these terrifying mirror images of people. A shadow is much more than just some silhouette. You see, there's a separate world for these things. It runs parallel to ours, but intersects at times. The minute you come into this world, your shadow follows. It creeps into you, mixing your whole being with itself, and it follows you around. In the dark and in the light, it's inescapable. Our shadows are composed of the parts of us that we store away in that shadow world, the parts of us that make us branch the line between human and monster. Most of us are good at storing away those parts, locking them up for all of eternity. Some lock up just enough to pass as human. But there are a few of us that are almost indistinguishable from our shadow counterparts. Those of us that carry on most of our shadow's traits are good at hiding that fact, good at manipulating people, skirting through life, and are typically independent. Never playing the role of leader, rather the one of a laxative, just letting shit flow through us as we live out our brief days on this earth until our shadow finally tears through the wall between our parallel worlds and consumes us. No one is safe, but some are consumed sooner than others. I've been kicking my heels for all my days, trying to outrun these beings. Living with my own is hard enough, but being caught in between an unfamiliar one and their human counterpart is almost unbearable. Being caught in another silhouette brings on expectations. Mitch, how come you can never do what he does? You know, you look just like him, except uglier. Are you two related? Why, yes. And if you ask Charles Darwin, I'm related to chimps too, so why don't you go to the goddamn zoo and interrogate those vile creatures? You see, but I'm taking a stand, standing up to these shadows, these silhouettes, this devilish other part of me that I can't escape from. I don't want this dark passenger anymore. I don't want to wear some facade every single day, all because I have to be just like him, or just like her, or just like everyone else. I'm starting fresh, cleaning the slate. But as I gaze behind me, I can still see that monstrous being. I still encounter him on a daily basis, and I try to hold him off. But the dark is waging war on me, and it's 1 against 1,000,000, and I am being shoved off of my narrow path. There are no blankets of light elsewhere. So I guess it's my time to be consumed. See you all in the shadow world.
That was Mitch. I'm so glad I don't have to judge tonight. Because, ooh, that's a hard job. So glad to pass it on to some others. We've got scores: an 8.8, an 8.9, a 9.1, a 9.2, and a 9.4 for Mitch. Coming up next, we have Quentin.
Storm chasing. Sitting back, just storm gazing. Thought of her power, got my pulse blazing. Brain on overdrive, got my mind racing. Trying to be the one for you. I'm storm chasing. I fall under a category of people that can hold it together until they're confronted by that one person from the opposite sex. Also, the reason for your constant pit checks. She's yards away, her booty so sick. I think I forgot my Kleenex. And as she moves, one foot after the other like no other, I already know what happens next. We lock eyes. Her gaze burns into me. I'm immediately dehydrated. My lips dry up like old fast food fries, and shit, my tongue seems to have doubled in size. Now, at what point in this disaster waiting to happen does Storm realize that she is my ultimate prize, even though at the moment I feel like I'm meeting my demise? My self-confidence seems to have taken a dive. My shoes melt into the ground, and my clothes go from keeping me warm to keeping me alive, and she's 5 steps away, and I'm afraid, but if this was a buffet, I'd pick you first by flexing my palms, squeezing the tongs. You have me higher than smoking out of 3 bongs, 420. in rotation. Or when prices are down at the gas station, heart rate up like inflation as I wait in anticipation. I'm only 3 struts away from my mini vacation. And Clark Kent to Superman, give me a moment to jump into my disguise. Hopefully I brought the right supplies. Pull my hair out my face, puff out my chest, and stretch my neck to the skies. I should figure out how to greet this beautiful creature. I think to myself, that would be wise. Then it hits me like lightning, and after all the internal fighting, I man up and say, hey, how you doing? And waves are sent down my spine as she replies with, I'm doing fine. At this point, my brain looks like a preschool freehand drawing with tons of colors and pointless happiness. I can feel my adrenaline falling. Jawline frozen with directions to wait while thawing. I can't walk. Hope she doesn't mind me crawling. Like a storm, I wait for her to pass. Wish I could stop her and make the moment last. Dark clouds as she walks away. If she comes back, I'll have a coat and say, storm, if you were mine, I would never cheat. And in the summer, I could be the shade to your heat. Don't have to dance because you're the moves to my beat, the funk to my feet. And every 2-word convo runs through my mind on repeat. Baby, you complete. I just wish I knew the words that can knock you out your seat, but they're probably so obsolete. Storm chasing, sitting back, just storm gazing. Thought of her power, got my pulse blazing. Brain on overdrive, got my mind racing, trying to be the one for you. I'm storm chasing.
Quentin. We've got a 9.2, a 9.2, a 9.3, a 9.7, and a 9.9 for Quentin. Coming up to the stage, we have Alexis. Put your hands together for Alexis.
They say, keep your head up, baby, don't worry. But it's hard when your vision gets blurry. They say, don't trip, it's not a big deal. But what they don't understand, it's hard when you feel like the world's caving in. I'm drowning, I'm counting the seconds, minutes, hours until somebody saves me. But I'm stranded. I can't be helped by anyone but myself. I might be swimming for a while, I've got to take care of myself, but once I make it, I've got to get hold of the reality I lost and watch it unfold with the people I love. They're still here for me, even though in that moment I felt like I was all alone, like a blade in my tears were the only option, sharper than Poseidon's trident and flooding his castle. But this anxiety was fiery and filled the capacity of my body entirely defiantly. This insanity left me in a rivalry quietly between myself and reality. I'm trapped. At the bottom of the ocean, my lungs are filling to the brim with salinized water. Which way is up, which way is down? But when I breach the surface, there's no telling how powerful I'll be. I'll glow brighter than the sun's reflection on those waves, the way it glimmers when the waves blow over. But I'm also as intense as the rolling waves crashing to the shore, colliding with the world like there's nothing to lose. No bruises, but maybe scars, and they'll fade away just as the tides change, and the gravitational pull of my loved ones is the moon to my ocean. They keep me going, keep me alive, to survive and thrive, to understand and learn. No longer will I need to keep a knife because love and wisdom are the only lethal weapons I need. No longer will I let this quicksand of quiet consume me. I will be a wisdom warrior, a contortionist of compassion, a liaison for love, a life preserver, a better person. This is a thank you. A thank you to those who have stood by me when I didn't want to be standing at all. To those who have helped me realize the world before my eyes can, yes, be cruel, but is also the world that has the potential to push my passion and allow me to pursue my purpose. Allow me to ride the waves of the world without a care. Yes, keep your head up, baby, don't worry. I know it's hard when your vision's so blurry, but I can't say it's not a big deal because you feel like you're drowning and counting the seconds, minutes, hours until somebody saves you. I'll be your lifeguard. You just have to keep your head above water. And you just have to keep your head above water. Remember to breathe, because these currents won't slow down for anyone, and sharks will always be searching for blood, but if you need it,
I will always be your tidal wave of love. Thank you.
That was Alexis. Wrapping up this second round. If you've enjoyed all the poetry you've heard tonight, make some noise. We've got a 9.1, a 9.1, a 9.2, a 9.4, and a 9.8 for Alexis. Give it up for Alexis. So here's what's going to happen. Can we just give a round of applause to the judges? That's not an easy job. Thank you for judging. And I just want to say all the names of all 20 competitors. I'm going to just say them all, and then let's clap at the end. Serena, Wyatt, Taya, Gwen, Shaylee, Sekai, Maya, Quentin, Isabel, Janet, Kyrika, Fiona, Leah, Havana, Jamie, Mitch, Ashley, Bella, Alexis, and Rona. Thank you for all of your great work tonight. You were all amazing. We have some announcements for you. Yeah. Okay. Will you say the prizes? Okay. All right. They're gathering prizes. So I hear this is actually unprecedented. We have a tie for fifth. So let's see. That is Fiona and Alexis tied. Put your hands together for Fiona and Alexis. Great work. Fantastic job. They win gift certificates to Portland's own Powell's Bookstore, the largest new and used bookstore in the United States of America. One of my favorite places to be. All right. In fourth, we have Quentin. Put your hands together for Quentin. Quentin in fourth place. Nice job, Quentin. In third place, we have Sekai. Put your hands together for Sekai coming in third. In second place, put your hands together for Bella. And in first place tonight at 2015 Verselandia, put your hands together for Gwen. These amazing, talented poets. Let's give it up for all of them. Great work tonight. You are all fantastic. Can I get all the competing poets up on the stage? We're gonna take a photo of your beautiful selves. Come on and join us up here. And let's keep those hands clapping. Here is your future. I don't know about you, but I'm excited about what it holds. Give it up. Your Verselandia competitors 2015.